The call came in just past midnight. At first, it seemed like a routine disturbance in the middle of the city. A man had run out of an apartment building, half dressed, screaming about someone trying to kill him. We get calls like that. Drunken fights, bad relationships gone worse. But something about this one felt different. The tension in the voice of the officer on the other end of the radio, hinting at something darker. So I took the call, unaware that I was stepping into one of the most horrific cases of my career. The apartment complex was on the edge of Milwaukee, tucked away in a quiet corner. When I arrived, the air felt heavy, like it was holding a secret. The man we had been called about, a young guy, was still shaking when I got there. He was in his early 20s, trembling and clearly terrified. His clothes were torn, his skin bruised, and he kept muttering the same name over and over. Jeff? Jeff? I wasn't sure if this was a victim or just a man lost to his own demons, but his fear was real. We tried to calm him down, get the story straight. He pointed back to the building, his voice cracking as he told us about a man inside, someone who had tried to hurt him, someone with strange intentions. He described the man as calm, polite even, but something had snapped in him. The young guy had managed to escape when things got violent, and now he was pleading for us to go inside. Something about the desperation in his eyes convinced me that this wasn't just some ordinary domestic dispute. We headed toward the apartment he had fled from. The door was slightly ajar, and as I pushed it open, I could feel a chill creeping in. The place was unsettling, even before we saw anything. A strange smell lingered in the air, chemical, metallic, and rotting all at once. I flashed my light around, and that's when we saw it. Polaroid photos scattered on a small table. They were graphic, showing bodies, men, naked, posed grotesquely, their eyes wide open in a final, horrifying stare. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. This was something far beyond what I had expected. My partner moved further into the apartment, her footsteps hesitant, as if she too sensed that whatever we found here would haunt us for a long time. In the back corner of the apartment, behind a plain curtain, was a large metal drum. The smell was stronger now, almost overwhelming, and as we opened it, the horrifying truth of the situation came crashing down on us. Inside the drum were decomposing remains, human remains, dissolving in a sickening mixture of chemicals. Pieces of bodies, limbs, and organs, all soaked in acid. It was a scene straight from a nightmare. The man living in the apartment was quickly identified. Jeffrey Dahmer. He had been calm when we entered, sitting on his couch, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. He barely resisted when we put him in cuffs, offering no explanation, no defense. It was as if he knew this day was coming. What followed was the darkest investigation of my career. The horrors we uncovered inside that apartment were beyond anything I could have imagined. Dahmer had lured young men to his apartment, seducing them with promises of drinks, photographs, or simply a place to stay. But once inside, they never left. He confessed to drugging them, then killing them, strangling them, before committing unspeakable acts on their bodies. He kept trophies, skulls, bones, and photographs documenting every gruesome detail. Over the course of the investigation, we uncovered the full extent of his brutality. 17 victims, most of them young men, their lives taken in the most horrific ways imaginable. He didn't just kill them, he desecrated them. He admitted to cannibalizing some of the bodies, storing parts of them in his refrigerator for later consumption. Dahmer described everything with a chilling detachment, as though he were recounting mundane details of his life. The names of his victims began to emerge one by one, each life a tragic end to a horrific nightmare. Stephen Hicks, Stephen Tuomi, Jamie Dockstader, Richard Guerrero, Anthony Sears, Raymond Smith, Edward Smith, Ernest Miller, David Thomas, Curtis Strauder, Errol Lindsay, Tony Hughes, Konarak Synthesomphone, Matt Turner, Jeremiah Weinberger, Oliver Lacey, and Joseph Breithoft. Young men, some just teenagers, who had trusted a stranger only to meet a violent, unimaginable fate. Each victim had their own story, their own path that had tragically crossed with Dahmer's. One in particular haunted me. Konarak Synthesomphone, a 14-year-old boy who had actually escaped Dahmer's apartment once, only to be tragically returned by police officers who believed Dahmer's story that the boy was his intoxicated lover. By the time they left, Dahmer had already decided to finish what he had started, and Konarak became another name on the growing list of the dead. The press dubbed him the Milwaukee Cannibal, but to me, Dahmer was something far more disturbing. He wasn't a monster in the traditional sense. He was a human being, a soft-spoken man with the appearance of normalcy. And that's what made him so terrifying. The ease with which he blended into society, the casualness with which he destroyed lives. When I think back to that night, to the young man who ran out of Dahmer's apartment in terror, I realize how close we came to never uncovering the full extent of his crimes. It was pure chance that we caught him when we did. Had that young man not escaped, who knows how many more victims there might have been. Dahmer was sentenced to life in prison, where he would later be killed by a fellow inmate. But for me, and for the families of those 17 young men, the scars of what we found inside that apartment will never fully heal. The case of Jeffrey Dahmer is a reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a seemingly ordinary face, a darkness that once exposed will never be forgotten.